Okay, so I'm going to execute this. So you can see I deleted all the state, all the Terraform files. So what I'm going to do is just run the little runner I have here. I removed all the logging and everything. So what you see is what's probably the most realistic way of running this. And all right, let's start creating our infrastructure. This will take under 15 minutes. When I run it, it usually takes under 15 minutes. The longest part is creating the service principals, signing, all the roles, permissions, elevating access, and all of that. So, all right, I just logged in. Gonna look for location, subscription, all that good stuff. And so that we know where we're at, I'm going to do the reading complete like so. All right, reading complete. Oh, read complete. Sorry. Read complete. There you go. Now we can see, as you saw here, it created the project files. It doesn't need to wait for most of the files. It has, since we don't have hard-coded values, these are generic. The only thing that might need some values is the TF bars at the end. But other than that, I don't think we need hard-coded values. Oh, and the other thing that might need a hard-coded value is the the value for the pipeline. So the build definition ID is currently at 0 because I don't know what that pipeline ID is going to be. So I started with this and then I just updated through Terraform. Okay, as we can see this is creating secrets, still creating the service principal. Secrets were created. And now the storage count is complete. It's going to probably add some role assignments to the storage count. And also we should see, oh yeah, this opened up at the beginning. We probably didn't see it, but usually when you create a project, it opens the web browser with a tab to that. So this project was created using that Terraform file. And actually, we should probably do it something maybe like this and just look at the output. And we can probably also go here, check what we have. Here's our resource group, created a key vault, storage account, and it's going to also probably create a service principal up down here. There you go. Here's a service principal. It's also going to create once the service principal is complete, it's also probably going to, let's see if it appears here. Here's my project. All right, I go to the project and service connections. I created a service connection. Now it's creating the TFRs. So it's almost at the end. And it's also waiting for all of these permissions to be assigned. Oh, they're complete now. Okay, so it's creating pipelines, adding some more permissions, and updating the README. So if we go here and check the README now, it's never been built. So this is good. It's updating our infrastructure as we look at it. Okay, so these are complete. And these permissions take some time to be propagated, and that's why they sometimes take a little bit longer. This one's taking a minute and a half. Okay, this is going to, okay, this is done. Now it's just logging out. And it complete. All right. So as you can see, never been built. This is new 4 minutes ago. We can check the pipelines. These are new, no runs. Let's try running this pipeline. This is the pipeline that checks for PRs. Create a PR. This should, if you configure it, this should run for every PR. So that you can have a validation that the syntax is correct, the plan is sound, you're not trying to delete anything you don't want to delete. Okay, here it downloaded the secrets we have in our key vault, checked out the code, installed Terraform, ran init, it validated. All right, we are now in the planning phase. and this should read everything we have in our Terraform state. And if we ran this, we would be importing 19 resources, adding 0, changing 9, and destroying 0. The 9 that we are changing need to be modified in place, and these are always touched every time you do something. So it doesn't matter what you do, they always get touched. All right, that was one pipeline. Let's check the build pipeline. So the infrastructure is built, but it should not be in our Terraform state yet. If we try to check for the Terraform state, look for this, it's 181 bytes. So there's nothing here. And once we build, it'll run all those imports we have in our code, which could stay there forever. You can delete them after you run the imports if you want to tidy up. But in general, they don't harm. They don't. The first time they'll import, and the second time they're already imported. So okay, same thing. Downloading secrets. Downloaded secrets. Running Terraform init. The only difference between this one and the other one is that this one has the check changes stat that checks that there is any change, and if there's no change, then we don't run the apply. When there's a change, we do run the apply. So it's conditional on there being imports or additions, deletions, updates. Okay, it checked the changes, archived our TF plan, it published that, and now it's running the apply. So it's going to run this. This usually doesn't take a very long time because the resources are already created. We're just importing the IDs into the Terraform state. Okay, this is done, and voila, that's it. So Terraform build, it's run. We check our pipelines first time. So in this way, I made all the mistakes beforehand. So now every time I create a new infrastructure project, I can rest assured that the first run is going to work. All my infrastructure is there, and I can start with my real work of creating the infrastructure that I need for my project, and not worry about the automation part. Perfect. And this took less than 10 minutes, even running everything by hand. I should probably add another step to run these from the Terraform provisioning script. Okay, took 10 minutes, and I think this is pretty cool. If you want to see more, remember, leave a comment, and I'm going to upload the code also, so stay tuned for that. Leave a comment if you want the code. I can probably send you the thing myself. If not, I'm going to upload it to GitHub as soon as I can. All right, take care. Welcome back, coders. Today, we're taking a deep dive into something that every cloud engineer eventually faces. The moment you decide to start a new project, or worse, refactor an existing one. We all know it's a daunting moment. It's like standing at the base of a mountain with no clear trail. The first step feels overwhelming because everything needs to be right. Or you'll be digging yourself out of technical debt for months. But what if there was a better way? A way of working that lets you build massive, complex systems, just like the Great Wall of China, brick by brick, using a process that is so well designed, that is so mechanical and reliable, that you barely need to think about it once it's designed? That's what we're exploring today. I'm going to show you how to enter a flow state of mind, but for infrastructure. Let's dive right in. Okay, so you have some interest in infrastructure as good. You're still here. I'm going to show you, now that I mentioned the flow state of mind, I'm going to show you a methodology that will favor simplicity over cleverness and mechanics over magic. Most importantly, you're going to be favoring maintainability over heroism. We don't want to depend on tribal knowledge or some wizard that knows everything about the inner workings of our system to be able to maintain it. Let's face it, you only create a project once, but you're going to start modifying it and updating it dozens of times, maybe hundreds. If it's not easy to evolve, you'll end up fighting your own code instead of shipping features. Now, here's the twist. Instead of writing a script to Bootstrap Terraform, we're going to Bootstrap Terraform using Terraform. We don't have any brittle shell scripts. We don't have any out-of-band resources you have to, manually import into your state. We'll let Terraform do what it was built to do. We're going to use its own dependency graph and execution engine to drive the entire set. Let me show you. Okay, let's lay out the problem setting. You're at the beginning of a new project, or maybe you're looking at a legacy setup that's due for a major refactor. Either way, the task ahead looks huge. The mountain metaphor is real. Starting is hard, especially when you don't have a clear idea of what lies ahead. The natural instinct is to try and do everything at once, or procrastinate entirely. And that's where most of us get stuck. But there's a better approach. Instead of trying to reach the summit in one push, we take small, incremental, and deliberate steps. We check our bearings at every stage. We stop chasing complexity and instead look for a process that allows us to build momentum. We can repeat the steps reliably and know that we're always moving forward, even if it is slowly. And that's when we enter the flow state. Every step is obvious. The process is mechanical. Complexity is either abstracted away or eliminated entirely. And the beauty of this is that you can work like this alone or at scale with large teams. It becomes a production chain where everyone follows the same methodology and progress compounds. So every part of this team just needs to focus on the problem in front of them. Okay, let me show you the tools. We're going to let Terraform do what it was built for. This methodology was born out of frustration. So I had a 6,000 plus line of code script that bootstrapped my Terraform. It worked, but updating or extending this script was painful unless you knew its internals. So I tried to modularize it, and that helped a bit. But I just ended up with a modular version of the same mess. Plus the threading and orchestration issues I introduced by trying to make every module multi-threaded. But that's a story for another time. And then it hit me. Terraform already has a DAG, a directed acyclic graph, to handle dependencies. It's literally built to manage order and parallelism in resource creation. So, what if I treat every infrastructure creation step as a Terraform resource? Instead of scripting dependencies myself, I could let Terraform figure it out. And the magic sauce for this were two tools inside Terraform. Data external from a provider, and I use that for steps that produce output used by later steps, like fetching configs, names, IDs, metadata, you name it. The second one is the resource Terraform data, and I use that one for actions like shell commands or setup operations. They might not be needed for future steps. I just need them to be performed. I don't care about the output necessarily. And I created this rule of thumb. If the output is needed for future steps, I use data external. If it's just an action with no future dependency, use Terraform data. And together, they allow me to express my bootstrapping flow entirely inside Terraform. And the scripting language, you can choose that, but in my case, I use PowerShell. But it could be anything. You can use Python, Bash, Go, whatever you prefer. Okay, enough of me talking. Let me show you what I call the prototype brick. It's a proof of concept. It's the smallest, simplest step in the entire process, and the one that proved the whole idea could work. So I'm going to use Terraform data to configure, local environment variables that I need for when you log in to your cloud provider. I'm writing authentication settings to my environment, and then I need to restore those settings back at the end so that I leave your environment in the same way I found it. I don't need any output. I might need it for the future when I restore your configuration, but it's just a mechanical action. It's just something that needs to be done. And then I used data external to run a script. In this case, I'm going to show you both the prototype brick, as I mentioned, and I'm going to show you this idea applied to creating a resource group. In this case, I'm going to use Azure. That resource group name is going to be used in subsequent steps. So this resource group is going to contain a storage account, a key vault, etc. So this is something that is dependent upon by future resources. So this is not a magic bullet. You still need to understand the dependencies between your resources, but you don't have to deal with orchestrating when one thing is created. So you need to know that you need a resource group. You need to know you need a storage account to hold your Terraform state. You need probably a key vault for your secrets. You need to know the relationship between them, but you're going to let Terraform figure out how to create them once you declare those dependencies. Once you've defined the logic, you can park the thinking and just start executing. Step after step, no stress. You don't need to track your dependencies manually. Just let Terraform do what it's good at. And once I finished this, it reminded me of a saying that a journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Okay, let me show you what we're working with. In this case, there is a data external. The protocol for data external is that you send it JSON and you return JSON back. That's the simplest way of explaining it. Okay, in this case, I'm going to be calling a PowerShell script in functions. I'm going to send it a query with 2 parameters, and this is just going to concatenate the 2 inputs, right? So this is the simplest thing you can do. So I take the query, I convert it from the JSON. I can work with it by, checking for properties, validating, doing whatever I need. And then I just return a response that is JSON. So I convert it to JSON. You don't need to compress it, but I like to keep the outputs tidy, so I compress it. And this is how I started this proof of concept, right? And the reason I am organizing it with directories like functions is because in future steps, you're also going to have programs. So what I did was separate them into functions that work sort of like this, but this is more of a program. This is dealing with Terraform inner workings. So you receive JSON, you have to output JSON. And in this case, I'm going to leave it in functions because it doesn't matter, but you get the idea. All right, so first of all, this is a new directory, so I haven't done anything to it. And I probably need to do some kind of Terraform init. All right, there you go. It's initialized. There's nothing here. I should add something like a providers section. So let me add that right here, just so that you don't forget about this. All right, so what we're dealing with is, in some cases, you need to create files. We're going to be generating Terraform files from within Terraform, and we need to deal with external data. So we're going to use these 2, and there's no options. So if I do this again and I do reconfigure, it should not be any different. Okay, I have run this a few times. This is still fine. And now I'm going to validate it. Right? Creation is valid, so it probably will work. So let's do a Terraform plan. Once we do this, and now you see we have no changes, but it still works, right? So let's try to apply this. Try to see. There you go. There's no resources created, no added, no changed, no destroyed, right? But we do have a Terraform state. So when you check your Terraform state, you have your resource, your data external resource. It gives you what you send in, and most importantly, it gives you that it perform this concatenation operation on the inputs. So you can use this template to perform operations. So in this case, I was just concatenating, but you can call APIs. You can do some git command from your local machine. Let's look at what we can do if we wanted to, for example, log the current user into a cloud provider like Azure. Okay, but this has no output. So let's try adding some output to this so that we can perhaps see what's being returned in the result of that operation. Let's see if this works. Let me validate this again. Success. Let me plan again. There you go. Now there's an output. And as you can see, that is the response. That's what would happen. So in this case, it already did the operation. You do apply. There you go. You need to enter a value. Yes. There you go. This is my output. So there's a response inside my JSON that I returned from the protocol tester, and that's it. So this output now contains this map that has a single key called response, and this is the value. And you can do things like what I have here. So you could pass multiple inputs to the same function, and you could get multiple outputs in this way. So I'm going to show you what I did at first to configure my local environment. And I'm going to use some copy pasting magic so that you know exactly what I'm doing. There you go. So I'm going to set up the broker config for my local machine. This will change the way I log in to Azure. This will open up a pop-up window that allows me to click on my account and log in that way instead of doing it the CLI way where I need to perhaps copy a code or go to a URL and confirm it that way. This will just open a pop-up window, let me click, accept, and I'm in. Why do I need to get this broker config? Because I don't know what you have configured on your local environment. So I want to check what you have configured because I'm going to change these three values, potentially, if they're not the same. I'm going to set them to something else, and afterwards, I'm going to set them back to the original value so that your environment is not changed in any way. So if I do this, as you can see, this depends on nothing. You don't need to put this. It'll recognize that it doesn't depend on anything. I'm going to execute this program, which is very similar to this one. I mean, if I want to put it on the functions, so I could do the working directory, or I could do it this way. And this is something else I discovered while reading the documentation. So what I usually do is I keep things separate into directories. In this case, I just want to put the simple name of the script, and I want to tell it where to start this script from. All right, let me get the broker config. Here it is. I'm going to show you what this broker config does in just a second. There you go. So this doesn't receive any input. As you saw here, there's no query. So once I come here, I don't have to deal with any input. I just ask the configuration to say, hey, get me all the configs for this, for core. And I get JSON. From this JSON, I can say, okay, what's the allow broker value? What's the enable broker on Windows value? What's the login experience? So these are certain configurations, right? And I just return them in the result. Once I have that, I can say, okay, here's the output, here's what you want it to do. In this case, I'm converting it to booleans, to strings, so on. Perhaps you don't need to do this, but it keeps things tidy as you progress. All right, let's try again. Let's validate this. Works. Let's plan it. There you go. This is what's going to change, the outputs. And if I apply, let me just confirm here. Yes. Now you have this, right? You can start building your state with more stuff. And if we compare it to what was here before, now you can see that we have these 3 new outputs. Okay, so let's go back to where we were. And I told you I wanted to get these values because I wanted to set them back, to reset them to their original values, right? So let's do that right now. So in this case, I'm going to go to almost the end of the project, right? And there you go. I'm gonna do this, copy this, and usually your code should, your infrastructure should start here. And actually, something like this. After you have created everything that you had to create, you want to restore the values. So let me show you what I did. I'm going to try to check if any of these is different. And if any of these is different, then I need to execute this one. If they're the same, I don't need to restore anything back. In this case, I'm depending on some login because you need to log in, and then after you log in, I can restore the broker right away, because in the next login, you're probably going to set it again. So we don't have this yet. I'll show you this in a moment. So we're going to ignore this for now. Actually, just so that it's clear for you, the process I followed. All right, in this case, I have here a data external for the broker config, and now I have a Terraform data. I don't want to receive any output from this, to be precise. So that's why I'm using the Terraform data. In this case, I'm setting some environment variables, and I'm setting them to the value of the allow broker, enable broker on Windows, and login experience v2, exactly these ones. If you go here and try to check the, where is it, broker config, so data external broker config, result, allow broker. So these are the values we got from that first data block. And the command I'm running, I just surround it by this, and everything between is going to be executed. So I have an environment variable called allow broker right here, and I'm going to set this value to whatever it is in the environment. I'm going to do the same thing with the other two, and that's it. I don't need to do anything else. And this is going to be triggered. The replacement is going to be triggered either by a specific value replacement or a change in the broker configuration. So I haven't shown you this yet, but I can, you know what? I can probably show you that because it's very simple and it's something that is not very complex to understand. So what I'm going to do is put it here so that you know what we're talking about. Okay, so I have this Terraform data. It's called replacement, and it's simple. If this changes, then everything that depends on this will change, like here. What I'm saying is execute this every time you execute the script because it's going to be a different timestamp. So I can trigger the replacement on every run. All right, if I try to do this now, let me try to validate again. Plan. There you go. Want to add. Let's see what we're going to add. The replacement. This is fine. And we can apply. Let's do auto approve and do like this. There you go. So if you check the difference between this and this, now we have a big block down here for the execution. So we can now set the environment variables and we can restore them at the end. We have the variables, we restore them. We haven't changed them. So Right now, I think I'm going to do exactly that. I'm going to configure the values I want. Okay, let me copy this. I'm going to configure the values I want, and I'm going to do it here. Let me go over this. To configure the broker, it depends on getting the previous configuration, and we're going to set the values to this. In this case, they're hard-coded values that we want, and it's exactly the same as this one, but this one has the previous values we queried before we configured the broker. It's exactly the same. So you can get the values, configure the broker to be something else potentially, and then you return the values to what they were before. So let's do it now. You validate, plan. There you go. So as you can see, the replacement is going to change. And we can do this. Try to see if it works. There you go. So now that you start getting into this state of mind, now you can see how you go into the flow of working with this. So you did one thing and you're dealing with tasks. So each task is a resource. You create your resource. If you need the values later, you use the values later. You say, hey, this depends on something else, right? So that's how this works. In this case, you can say it doesn't depend on anything, but it does depend on this. So I don't need to declare this because it's inside the block itself. It knows that it needs this before it can continue. But you can define arbitrary dependencies between your resources. Now, it's not only about waiting for things to be available, but you can also delay some of them to be done after a certain step, right? And I'm not gonna bore you with everything I did. I'm just gonna show you the example for the login, and then you can see a time lapse of me building the whole thing again. Okay, so let's do it here. In this case, we wanted to get the configuration and configure the broker because we were going to do a login in Azure. And what we do here is after you configure the broker, then you can log in. We clear the accounts. We don't want any output. And if you're not logged in, we run Azure login, right? That's all it does. Try to keep your scripts very small, self-contained, do one thing and only one thing, and try to do it right. Once you do this, I can now say that I want to return the configuration only after I log in. So once I restore this broker, I'm done. There you go. Restore the broker and I'm done. And now let's see how this works. As you can see, I do a lot of the same thing. Validate, plan, and then apply. Right? So what I did was, hey, I'm going to create a small runner that performs these actions and validates every step. There you go. It's trying to get me to log in, and I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but this opened up. So I can select my account. That's it. And once I go to this place, it continued. So once I logged in, it continued to perform the other actions. And there you go. So now you're logged in. Now you can do anything that you could have done by logging in manually, but you're doing it from Terraform. And let me try to see if I can show you exactly what I was mentioning when I said I could, where is it? It's right here, yeah. So if I copy this, right? I'm gonna explain to you what this does. So I started doing the same thing. In every step I did this, and I would delete everything related to Terraform just to make sure that everything kept working from the start. And I kept adding to it. So it was like, okay, so I now init reconfigure. I do validate, I do Terraform plan at the beginning. And then as I added more stuff, then I started building this. Oh, now I want this to output the plan. I'm not gonna give any input. And once I started creating the variables, I also gave that to the plan. And then instead of doing apply yes, I did apply, out approve, input false, put the output from the plan, and then remove this. I also had steps for removing all the Terraform directories and files and stuff. So what you see here is the same thing. Now I'm doing the Terraform log in trace, the same thing for PowerShell, I'm going to set the debug preference to continue instead of silently continue. This way I can get more output. I'm going to try to do the Terraform init reconfigure. If it doesn't work, I'm going to tell it failed. I'm going to do validate, same thing, just simple reports. If you want to do all of this, I would say properly, I would perhaps now knowing more, I would do it like this. Oh, and these were some tests for just targeting certain resources instead. I'm going to do all of this really quickly, try to see if I can. Here we go, format this part, same thing here, and put it here. Once this is done, there you go. And we're going to keep trying to do things. I'm going to try to init, I'm going to try to validate, I'm going to try to do a plan. And if any of these fail, then I'll get, what happened? This failed, that other thing failed. So, and at the end, I'm going to, if it exists, I'm going to remove this. All right. If I have this and I just try to run it, it should do exactly the same thing as I had before. Let me just try to remove this part. I'm going to keep this part. And let me see. All right, let me run it. There you go. Things happening, and hopefully I get. Oh, I didn't log out. I didn't show you that part, and perhaps it will not ask me to. Oh no, it's here. All right. So same thing. I just continue. Once this login continues, it finishes. There you go. I'm going to keep building, and you're going to see this as I'm building it. And at the end, I'm going to show you what you can do to, once you have everything bootstrapped, apply the same philosophy, the same way of thinking, way of working, to your own infrastructure once the bootstrapping process is finished. Okay, so let me continue doing this little by little. And once that is complete, I can show you the whole thing. Actually, I could probably, yeah, okay, let me just do it this way. Yeah, I have this, perfect. I have the other one, and I'm going to show you now the logging out. So you logged in, now you log out. All right, and in this case, I'm going to paste it in my provisioning script. I'm going to try to, it doesn't matter where you put it, but if I can try to pinpoint easily, like I need to do all of this infrastructure before I log out, then I would put it down here. There you go. This is going to be longer. In this case, this obviously depends on a lot of stuff. So what I'm going to do is, to make it simple, I'm going to remove all of this and show you what this is. So in this case, I'm executing if I'm logged in, I'm going to log out and clear the account. That's it. You actually don't need this. So I'm going to remove this also. There you go. And this is going to happen every time I execute the script. It doesn't depend on anything. It should depend on login, because you need to log out after you log in. But I had a lot of dependencies here, and most of them depended on login, so you don't need to declare them twice. But let's do it here just to keep some sanity. All right, so we're going to log out after we log in. We're going to restore the broker after we log in. The order in which these two happen has no importance. So you can do them one after the other, it doesn't matter. They don't depend on each other. So if I do this, actually, before I do it, let's see how this state changed in the last part. Okay, so just the IDs changed, maybe the serial, yep, okay. So what we're going to do here, we're going to try to see if this logs us out. All right, we're supposed to be waiting now to log in. You see a lot of output because we have the TF logs. There you go. Here you go. This is still waiting, and this is going to keep waiting until I select what I want to, what account I want to log in with. There you go. And it logs out, and that's it. If you check your Terraform state now, you have this big block here where you did the logout. So every step is still going to appear in your state. Now we can log in, we can log out. We know what the configuration was at the beginning. We know what the configuration was at the end. We restore it. Let me create a resource group. So what I'm going to do is, actually, I'm going to start showing you a little bit of how you should structure all of this so that you don't inadvertently make a mess of your code. So right now I'm just putting everything inside functions, and these are not functions. These are just like, these should go into programs. I don't care about this, right? Some of them do return data. That's why I kept them in the functions. So if they return something, I will keep them in functions. If they don't return anything, I'll do it in program. But that doesn't mean I cannot call from programs to functions so that I can keep some sanity between them. So let's try to create a resource group. And now I'm going to show you why I divided it into programs and functions. All right, so this is a real function. So you receive some inputs, do something, and the key of everything that you're going to need to do is to make your functions idempotent. So if there's already a group named in the same way you want the group to be named, and the group has exactly the same search expression that you would use to search for your group, then you use that one. If not, then you create it. If it doesn't have the search expression and you want to onboard it, then you update it to add those tags and so on. So if I execute this multiple times, it's going to create the resource group once, maybe update it if it already existed, and not create it instead. And if it was already created and has everything, like the tags and everything the way I want it, I just use it. I'm just listing that here and returning it. I don't go into whatever this is, right? So I can execute this function multiple times and it will not affect my infrastructure. So you got your resource group function, but remember, we don't really get to call functions. We get to send parameters to this script and it should return JSON. So what I did was create this small bridge, and I named this. I named all of these the same so that I can know what I'm dealing with. So now I have a get resource group here, and the program itself is the one that contains all the protocol, like Terraform protocol related stuff. So I'm going to import the other function here. I'm taking the input. I'm getting every single parameter from the query, and then I'm calling my real function, the one in functions, and I'm passing the parameters to that. So I can do validation here, I can do validation here, it doesn't matter. As long as you have a way of working that works for you, then you can follow it. What I started doing also was putting examples at the top saying, hey, try this, so that I can copy this and try to see exactly what Terraform would see. See, I'm checking the response, converting it from JSON, so that I can know what I'm sending back to Terraform once I start doing it. All right, and we need management tags and search expressions and so on. So let me copy these real quick and we'll get going. So I'm going to get this one, and this one. Okay, so this is return to broker, logging out, logging in. Once I'm logged in, I don't need to do this once I'm logged in, so I'm gonna put it here, maybe, just for me. And these are just creating tags. These do not call anything from the outside. It doesn't. You don't need to be logged in or anything. It's just creating the management tag search expression, and the metadata search expression. So let me also copy this. Get management tag search expression. There you go, management tag, metadata, and search expression. And this, as I said, these should go into programs. And the switch to using two directories happened after I noticed, hey, I'm doing this a lot, so let me try to create rules for myself. All right, so let's see one of these. Get management tag. It takes whatever it is you give me, and it creates a string that is managed by and whatever it is you create. The same thing for the search expression. I'm just creating a search expression like this, and the metadata search expression is the same thing. So I have this. Oh, and I need a variables TF with my domain name, right? So let's do it here. For now, let me just try to do this. There you go. Nothing else. Now you have a way to say, hey, this is the domain name. But wait, where's that domain name coming from? Is it coming from somewhere else? What's happening with that? That's where I'm going to add also the TFRs like this, so that you can say, oh, okay, so this is the thing that I want to create. And that's why I had this here. Now you can keep your TFRs in the file, declare your variable, and once you run it, you don't need to input anything. You just run your thing. That's it. So in this case, let's see again what we're doing. We're building strings, basically, logging in, logging out. That's all we're doing. And of course, we have the resource group that we wanted to create like this. And we're going to provision that resource group. You'll probably need also the location and the subscription. But let's see. Let me create the resource group. There you go. Going to paste it with all its outputs now. So we have your login, your infrastructure starts here. So let's start with the infrastructure. There you go. So what are the requirements? So we're depending on location, which we don't have. We do have these two. Oh, we need a variable. These are just like naming conventions that you should create for yourself. Maybe have some validation. Like I'm truncating this to 90 because I think that's the limit that you can put. And I'm using the results from the previous step here. So let's look for that previous step and see what that. I'm going to look for this one, and this is actually here. All right, so look for this. There you go. So this is what I'm dealing with. So I need to find a location because I depend on this. This depends on login. That's why this one doesn't depend on login, because I could put it here and it would be the same. But I started looking at patterns and said, oh wait, I'm depending on location, and location depends on login, so I don't need to declare login here. So you can make it a bit smaller by not having to include, but it's perfectly fine if you just want to include everything here. All right, so I also need a variable for the resource name. Oh, I need a location display name also. So let's see what else we need here. We need a resource group name. There we go. Need this. We're fine here. Domain name. We have a location. The location only depends on this, and I need to get location by name. Okay, so I'm going to get location by name. I'm going to go to programs. There we go. Here's location by name. I just also need a function. This. Put it in functions. There you go. So this is a function to get the location by name. I just check my locations, look for whatever it is that you're sending me. In this case, I was doing a test, so in this case, it should be location name, like this. Right? So once I find what I want to find, I return it inside the response. If you have JSON being returned from a command, right? What you could do is convert that from JSON, add it as a property in your response, and once you convert it back into JSON, it'll be like a string. So what I recommend is, if you're returning JSON, don't return the object. So return the JSON string here, and then you can always decode it afterwards, so that you don't keep coding and decoding stuff. All right, so I have the location. This depends on this. You have these two, and probably we're good. Yeah, I have 1, 2, location with name or the name. Yeah, we're probably okay. So, and I also need to go into my TFRs, try the location display name, try the resource group name, for example. When I provision this, I get the location is var location display name. Perfect. So let's exit. If I do this again, I'm going to try. Hopefully it doesn't fail. And probably wait for logging in. Yeah, there you go. So once the window for logging in is useful on the computer, just click. It continues, and it should try to create a resource group. But I think I probably have that resource group created already. So okay, great. So we have an error. what does it say? Oh, here, JSON decode for this response, right? We don't have anything here, so we're decoding nothing currently. So we go back, and this is why we enable the debugging, because we can go back and say, hey, what's happening with our resource group? Does it have anything? There you go. So here, we're not logged in. Oh, there you go. So we're not logged in. Let me do it like this. Log in. Oh, of course. That's because we're logging out before we get to provision, right? So if you want to log out, you need to make sure that you are building whatever it is that you want to build. So in this case is data dot external dot resource like so. So don't log out before you create the resources you want to create. All right, let's try again. Okay, window should pop up at any moment. There you go. Continue. All right, it's going to try to create stuff. There you go. Resource group. Let's see if this works. And there you go. It did. Now logout is working, and that's it. Now you can see, hey, here's your resource group. If you check your backup and compare it to the state, now you have a resource group. Okay? With this, you can keep building. Now that you have your resource group, what do you need? You need a storage account. Okay, so let's create a storage account. Oh, you need a permission. What do you need? All right, so it depends on the storage account. So I need permission to write a blob of text to that storage container that I need to build after the storage account. All right, so I'll keep building. I'll show you the finalized script, and then you can tell me what you think. All right, see you in a bit. Okay, so this is the completed project, and I'm missing showing you the part where I create the Terraform files from within Terraform. So what I'm going to do is find one of these. For example, yeah, let's find all of these and try to see if I can find the one for the resource group. There you go. So here I'm using the local provider to create a file from a template that lives in templates. So if I show you the templates and show you the automation resource group, this is everything that it's inside. It doesn't take any parameters or anything. It just says, hey, there is a resource group, and the name comes from a variable. That's it. You can use it as data, or you can have the resource itself. So it depends on what you want. I have both here because I want to show you that you don't really need to import the resource into your state, especially because your automation depends on this. So it doesn't make sense for you to manage it from within Terraform. Not all the time, at least. Maybe you want to change some parameters of it, and that's exactly what I'm doing here. So I'm preventing this from being destroyed, but you can still change like tags and stuff. Or, as I said, you can just use the data. All right, so we had this, right? And we're building that local file, and we're saying, hey, there should be a repository name. This comes from the outside. Oh, by the way, this var resource group name is not the same as the var resource group name that is here. So this is one thing. This is coming from the outside for our provisioning. But you also need to create variables for the module that you're creating, at least for the root module you're creating, and then pass them down. I'm going to show you what this looks like. So these are all generated. Once you see this, these are all generated. In this case, I'm going to show you the variables. So this is generated. This doesn't take, I don't think it takes any input. It could. And there's your main project. And this does take the versions as input, I think. I have that in my code. And then I have a bunch of other providers like Active Directory, Azure Resource Management, Azure DevOps to create projects and repos and users and pipelines. I have this locals to help me create stuff. And then I have the module for the Terraform automation. And this is what lives inside. You see? So this module is what you need to create the minimum Terraform project that only handles its own resources needed for that Terraform automation. It has nothing else. And I can go through it. I mean, you see, there's an admin, probably has an email. There's a role assignment for Key Vault administrator, and this comes from whoever created this, provisioned this script. And this is the Key Vault that you're managing. The same thing for Key Vault secrets user. This is for the service principal that was created. So I have, and I can show you, for example, the service principal. As I said, you can do it, you can deal with it as an app. In this case, I'm also looking at other apps like Microsoft Grab and Azure DevOps, and these are applications. And then this is my application. So no file here has any hard-coded value. As you can see, for example, redirect URIs. This is either localhost or your domain, whatever it is that you put in. If you change your domain, then it should trickle down to everything that you have here, right? That's the idea, that if tomorrow you want to change your domain, then you simply just change the domain name in the Key Vault, and it should be smart enough to move all the resources to work with the new domain. So Key Vault secrets user, here's the Key Vault. So you can see this is this. It doesn't have any hard-coded values, so you shouldn't really have hard-coded values. Try to get everything into variables. For example, these are all the defaults. So I just left them here. You don't even need to declare them, but I left them here so that you can see. The location, all right? So it's this location, and this is the display name. Oh, a project, for example. Here's a project. You can deal with it as data or as a resource. You have a repo. For example, I allow you to tell me what's the name of the repository in case it's different from the name of the project. And I still do create another repo for one that is named exactly like the project, so that you can have your own repo on the side and the infrastructure one like I have here. So I have a infrastructure repo and another one that will have something. And I was showing you automation. Yeah, there you go. And here it has, variables and things that you need. And I can also show you the main for this one. So you go. There's nothing hard-coded here. Everything is coming either from variables, which in turn come from a variable group. That is also part of the automation. See? So these are all the variables that I have in the Key Vault, for example. And I'm joining this variable group to be used in the pipelines. And I built the three pipelines I built are the check pipeline, which just does a Terraform validate for all of this. So you do init and the Terraform plan. That's it. Just check that things aren't crazy. You would use this pipeline for PRs, for example. Use this for a PR. When you submit your PR, this pipeline runs, and whoever is reviewing your PR will see, oh, he wants to actually destroy stuff, so we shouldn't allow this. Or, oh, okay, it's making 2 changes, and that's it. All right, perfect. Then I also have a build pipeline that not only does the plan, it also uploads the plan to some place, and it then does the apply. In this case, I'm checking, hey, I did a plan. Does this contain any creates, imports, updates, deletes? If it does, then I apply. If it doesn't, I just skip and I don't apply. And here I'm pushing the Terraform plan and just doing a apply, which takes me to also show you the imports, because those are important. As you are building, like I built one resource group. Once I built the resource group, I create its Terraform file. Once I create the Terraform file, I should try to import the resource group. So I have this Terraform automation, which is here, right? And I'm going to show you the resource group import. So I'm going to import into that module you saw on the top called Terraform automation, a resource group called resource group. And the ID is whatever my subscription is, with the subscription ID / resource groups / and the resource group name in the variable. These variables should also be built in the provisioning script. But you need to have a proper git ignore so that you ignore your TF bars and you don't accidentally push stuff to push your credentials to the cloud. All right, and I think that's all of it. So, oh, and speaking of which, now this is creating a project from scratch. But if you want to do some refactoring to a project that already exists, the best way is to create a new project, start migrating your resources one by one, as I showed you here, and at the end, you can either switch and migrate to the new thing, keeping same name, same IDs in case where you want to import stuff, you wouldn't have this, although it would be nice. And then switch to the new infrastructure. If you want to keep your old infrastructure, then you need to provide in your variables the proper names for those, or probably have to tag them in some way so that you can find them. But at least having it this way, now you have one module for your automation. These resources that are going to be created here with these variables are used for your Terraform automation. If you have now a module that builds Kubernetes with something else, I would suggest you create a new module. So you create a new module for your awesome infrastructure, and everything's awesome. You have each team. If you have an infra team, you can let them work here, and you can work here. If you have any comments, if you liked this, put the comments below. Evaluate the video. I mean, thumbs up, down, whatever you think it's worth. And if you want to see more content like this, please subscribe. And with that, I don't think I have anything else to show. If you think I'm missing something, leave a comment. All right, catch you next time. Happy coding.